Hello everyone, this is Ryan from Amnesty, and I'm going to show you Gustavus Adolphus for Sweden. I'll show you their victory condition I'd recommend if you were to play them, their social policy I'd recommend, and also their two special units. So, he gets the Noble Prize as his personality trait, which means he gains 90 influence with a great person gift to a city-state, and when declaring friendship, Sweden and their friend gain a 10% boost to great person generation. So, what that means in a nutshell means you want to go towards a diplomatic victory. Why is that? Because the more friends you have, the more great people you're going to have. And that's a very, very important thing. So the two top ones that I definitely would recommend right off the bat as far as victory conditions go is diplomatic and scientific. Those two are mainly in part because if you go with a diplomatic, if you're friends with all the AIs or close to all of them, you'll gain great people like no other. And so much to that effect, you can just send that great person to a city-state, gain 90 influence if you want to. Now generally I would never really recommend that because, 90 influence is nice. It's a really big chunk of influence you'll have with a city-state. But honestly, you always want to keep your great person. If for some reason you really don't need them, which I highly doubt, you could do that as well. But I'd much, if you were to do that, I'd much recommend just going into the patronage social policy tree, continuing it that way. So again, I'll tell you the 4 victory conditions, and obviously diplomatic is going to be number 1, just because of his personality trait. Number 2 will be scientific, again because of his personality trait. You just expand a lot as Sweden, and then you try your best to keep relations with everybody, be really friendly with them, and having the declaration of friendships up will give you great people like no other, and it will serve a good effect to you. You can have lots of great scientists, try to beat everybody in technology, win scientific, awesome, game over. And then the third one that I really wouldn't, culturally you could do it. Cultural victory is it's possible. Considering if you say stay small, a lot of AI tend to like you more, especially on harder difficulties. But again, you're gonna have to worry about military at that point as well. That's usually the stipulation. If you're very tiny, they'll try to go after you because generally you won't have an army such as a huge sprawling empire. But it's possible, definitely, because you could get great artists and keep working on cultural stuff. And then lastly, I would not recommend a domination victory. Now you would imagine that I would recommend it maybe a little bit higher, considering he does have 2 specific units that you get. But again, they're later units. Not only that, but you need a great general for the Hakkapeliitta to be any good. And that's not it. Selecting a great general is not bad, but it's a lot easier to just fight people and have that great general just generate on its own, rather than picking one at all with the great person selection. So again, domination isn't exactly what you want to go for. But anyhow, now I'll show you the Hakkapeliitta and the Carolean. Alright, for the Hakkapeliitta, he'll cost 185 production or 370 faith, which is quite a lot. And he'll have a combat of 25, a movement of 4. It isn't bad, it's alright. It's transfer movement to general, meaning that this is the unit that you'll want to keep a great general on. Great general combat bonus, meaning you have a great general with him, he'll do a lot more damage. But again, it's the stipulation here is that if you don't have a great general with you, he's just like any other lancer, and it's not very good. As any mounted unit, does not have terrain bonuses. If it's in the hills, if it's in the forest, this guy won't be any better. He won't defend any better. He can move after attacking, meaning you can kill something and run away. Penalty attacking cities, which is again another thing that really doesn't really want you to win domination, because if you have a bunch of these and you're attacking a city, you have a penalty automatically just for attacking the city, so it hinders you greatly. And then he does have formation 1 as a promotion. But now I'll show you the Carolean. He'll cost you 225 production, combat of 34, movement of 2, and then he automatically has march movement. Just means that he moves quicker. So it's nice if you're trying to, I would say, just trying to protect yourself. But again, offensively, he's fine, but really, Sweden's units really are more or less about defending yourself than it is attacking. But alright, with those two units out of the way, I'll show you the social policy I'd recommend if you were to play Sweden. Before I show you any social policies, I will tell you about Sweden's start bias. Now generally, they do not start where I started off. You don't normally start in the jungle. Generally, you start in colder areas, more or less the tundra, plains, and grasslands. Now I have seen in many cases where Sweden does start in the jungle, especially when either playing them or playing with AI that are playing as them. And another thing too, generally they're near oranges. For whatever reason that may be, they're always near oranges. It's one of the oddest things I've noticed. But at any rate, now I'll show you the social policy I'd recommend if you were to play Sweden. So I definitely would go with patronage, and that's because, again, he is one of the biggest diplomatic victory type civilizations. So you have patronage, and you will gain the favor of all the city-states. Now granted, if you have the Greeks in your game, then you're going to have to compete against them. Generally, you won't always have them in there, so that will help. You have all the city-states on your side, and you play fair with all the other AI. It's almost a shoo-in that you will win a diplomatic victory. It's just a matter of getting to that point, as in any other game. And that pretty much sums up Sweden for you. They're a very diplomatic type civilization. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please rate, subscribe, and comment. Please check out my other videos.